There's some value there. Not everyone appreciates that, and that's totally fine. But
Right.
for any of us who see that and get that, I think that there's a huge value there. And I think there's something old world and pure about that. And I think even people who don't love that, they can appreciate it at a certain level.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I think in a lot of cases, like you're talking about the intentionality and the amount of effort that you put into something, I think a lot of people that wear sneakers, I don't think it's that they actually like or prefer sneakers. I think maybe they just haven't put the level of intentionality into their footwear that you and I have, the amount of thought, and that's okay. Some people just, hey, some people love sneakers and they love the fast fashion thing, but at the same time, it's like, have you ever tried a pair of Aldens or a pair of Vibergs? You know what I mean? A pair of Grantstones. Have you ever tried these out? Because for me, it was something that I had to grow to appreciate. And now that I appreciate them very, very much. If you would have talked to 25-year-old me and said, hey, look at these $500 shoes, I'd have been like, what? No, how dare somebody charge $500 for a pair of shoes? Are you crazy? In fact, this is kind of funny, but I used to live in Honolulu, and I lived 2 blocks from Leather Soul, Hawaii. And I remember,
Whoa.
yeah, this was years before I ever bought my first pair of Aldens. But I remember, I think I walked in there once and I saw one of the price tags and I just walked out. Didn't give it a second thought. I'm like, ridiculous. No, hundreds of dollars on a pair of shoes. Ridiculous. That was my mindset at the time. Was I wrong? Now I think I was, but at the time I was not wrong. At the time, that was my opinion. At the time, my opinion to me was correct. And just like now, my opinion to me is now also correct. Nobody has a wrong opinion. It's just how much intentionality did you put into that opinion? Not everybody thinks about their shoes as much as we do. I didn't think about shoes nearly as much as I do 10 years ago as I do now. So it just comes down to how much you appreciate something, and your journey and your path to appreciating something is something that evolves. For example, I bet there's somebody not listening to this today, but maybe 5-10 years from now are going to be like, holy shit, these guys were on it. I wish I listened to this back in 2020. Now it's 2030. I wish, had I listened to this sooner, I would have been in a boot sooner. Because I know that's how I would have received it if I listened to this at 25 versus 35, which, I'm 35 now. I'm an elderly man now, but when I was 25 years old, I loved watches. I had an appreciation for good Swiss watches, but I had no appreciation whatsoever for good shoes. I thought that they were things that they were throwaway. They touch the ground, they get dirty. That was my opinion, but now my opinion obviously has shifted dramatically. So
Yeah, I just like Standard and Strange, their whole slogan, right? Own fewer, better things.
yeah,
That's money right there. That's
yeah,
totally.
I'm with them 100%. Own few things, hoard nothing.
Oh, dude.
Totally
Yeah.
kidding. But no, I agree. Own fewer, better things. That's a great thing to live by. In fact, now when I'm going to go buy something, I never go for entry level anymore, and I save money doing that. I go for the premium item now because I know that, like you brought up in one of your videos, it was with Division Road, I think, right? You brought up a point that just what I found so resounding. It was like, you're selling things that are more expensive, but it's what these things should cost in today's market, with the way that it's set up with all this cheap stuff coming from China. American consumers forget how much something should actually cost. When you factor in the quality of the materials, the workmanship, the craftsmanship, and all that, what it should actually cost, go back in the day, like in my grandpa's age, when he was growing up in the 40s, he could get a pair of boots for $2, which was the equivalent of $300 today. They weren't any cheaper than that. They were $2. And, when you look at some of these older Alden advertisements, oh yeah, shell cordovan, $5. Back then, that was a lot of money. In relative terms, that's what they should have cost, because the people that made them had to put food on the table as well. They had to eat as well. They had to have a house and a family. I think, yes, this stuff is expensive, but ultimately they cost what they should cost. These shouldn't cost $50. They should cost $500.
No, I
So
couldn't agree more. I think fast fashion is a house of cards.
yeah,
I don't completely hate on it. Like I say, I have friends that they're all into that, and that's fine. I don't want to be this guy that's like in my ivory tower judging everybody or something. But
right.
like, but really, they are being controlled by this house of cards kind of fake world where,
Yeah,
like, let's say the year is like 1855 or whatever it is, 1910, 1920, and inflation is not quite what it is now, and you don't have this internationalized, globalized economy and all this stuff, right? In the same way that we do now. And a
right,
lot of the
right.
stuff you buy from, Joe down the street who and he fixes your shoes, or he fixes the wheels on your ox cart or whatever, right?
Your horse and buggy.
Yeah, if there's some macroeconomist in those days and you said, okay, how do we sell the same thing, not the exact same thing, but something like what we're selling, but sell more of them and be able to sell them for, 10 or 15% or 25% of the price? How do we do that? In basic economics, they'd say, well, somebody's going to have to eat it. Someone's going to have to take it in the teeth. We can do it, but someone's going to have to get stepped on. That's the modern economy. And who's
Yes.
getting stepped on? It's the people we're outsourcing to, and it's the consumer, because you're getting a lower level. Like at the time, I think the year is 1920. You're talking to someone about this, they'd say, but the challenge is going to be to convince the people that this crappy object is actually going to do the job just as well as what we're all making right now. So if
Right.
you can convince them that these jeans or watch, I mean, I'm wearing a Fossil, right? So like if you can convince them that the Fossil is just as good as the Omega or
Hmm.
the Rolex, I mean, granted, Rolex is a bad example because them you probably do charge, they charge for the name to a certain extent, but still,
Oh yeah. Yeah, they do.
like you can convince them that it's the same,
Yeah.
or at least good enough, then you'll be able to pull this off. And they've pulled it off, and it was subtle. And I'm not saying it's all sinister, because it's not, but like,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the values in being in this boot denim heritage clothing community that we're in right now, is like, look, this is a $200 hat because it's a real hat. This is what
Yeah.
hats all should cost. Okay. But
Right.
the other hat that was made in Cambodia by some kid who gets treated poorly, that hat, and it's not even made out of rabbit fur, right? It's made out of wool or some synthetic material. That's
Yeah.
not a real hat, and
Right.
it costs less. So, but people look at our stuff right now, it's like, oh my gosh, you're so elitist, or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
like, well,
No, it's not,
no.
because you care what's the cost of that cheap hat, like you're saying. Well, it's the cost of somebody's childhood. That's expensive. Yeah, just because it cost you 80% less of what it should cost you out of your pocket, there's a real human cost behind that.
Yeah,
And just because you don't know that person, again, I think this is why we want to know the people that make our stuff, because when you don't know the person making your stuff, it's possible that that person making your stuff is a child that doesn't want to be there, who's sacrificing their childhood, sacrificing a big portion of their humanity to make it. And that sucks. That really sucks. None of us want that, but unfortunately I think Americans are just so used to that. It's like, nope, jeans should cost $30. I should be able to go into Target, get a pair of boots for $50. And it's like, at what cost? Well, there's a human cost, and
yeah,
you don't see it because you don't know who made it. And I think that's another thing that draws us into all this, is like, we want to know the people that make our stuff, because when we know that person, we talk to that person, we see that person, we know that they're not suffering. So there is a humanitarian aspect to it all, not just a spiritual or a quality of life aspect, but there's a humanitarian aspect to it as well. If you can't see the person making your stuff and it's coming from the Philippines, well, guess what? Hate to break it to you, but some kid, had to sacrifice and make basically nothing to make this thing. It's like you hear about these kids, they make 10 cents a week sewing soccer balls together. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want that soccer ball if some kid had to suffer for it. That's
yeah,
terrible. So, but again, try to convince, in modern context, the modern American consumer to prioritize that, and to spend, what would a real soccer ball cost? Well, probably $200, $300 if it's made out of if it's made ethically, it would probably cost, 10 times the amount that it costs in
Well,
Target.
look at a Horween football. Horween makes the NFL's football leather, right? So like if you look at a Horween football, yeah, those don't cost like $20, right? It costs a
No,
lot. And
yeah,
that's what they should cost. That's what footballs all should cost if they're real footballs.
yeah,
Unless someone listening thinks that we're oversimplifying,
hmm
like we are, that's with knowledge. So I've spent time in the third world. I've been to 4 different countries in Africa on missions trips. My family's from the Philippines, so I've been to Manila 5 times. I've been to Phnom Penh, Cambodia twice. So and some other places. So like I'm fairly well aware of what poverty looks like in the third world. And so I get that even though we look at the factories with the kids and we think, oh, they're eating it so that we can have our stuff. I'm aware that it's an opportunity for them in the world they live in. It's like, okay, they can be a prostitute on the streets or they can go work a ridiculously low wage in a factory, but at least they have a job that is less detrimental to them than. So I get that we're
yeah,
oversimplifying a little bit.
right,
There's a lot of problems in the world that would not be solved even if the fast fashion industry didn't exist.
yeah,
But I think the point we're trying to make, right, is that when you look at the problems in the world, you can do one of two things. You can say, I'm going to build my empire on that issue, on other people's pain,
right,
or I'm going to not build it on other people's pain. And, I'm not trying to criminalize or demonize people who are in that industry. Like, it's not as simple as we're making it, but it's like,
yeah,
you know, so really the point of this isn't to like demonize any of them. It's more to say each of us as an individual has our money and we can choose what we spend it on.
yeah,
And do I want to build my fashion experience on the foundation of the problems in the world and just kind of write it off as like, well, I can't change it anyways, so I might as well buy stuff that gets made by that? Or do I want to approach it more like, look, my money is my vote and I don't vote for that. I don't support that. I'd
right,
rather find a way to like say no to that. So this is like this massively complex spider web of issues that we're kind of oversimplifying for the sake of conversation. But
yeah,
I think when you boil it down, what each of us does have control over is how we spend our money. And I think there's value in us choosing to spend our money, not on like, yeah, like something that's like easily made by some kid in the Philippines, but it's made and they made like Grant Stone's a great example. Like
yeah.
their their workers have a good work environment. They do get paid a fair wage in their economy. They're doing good work. They get appreciated.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's a foreign country. That's not a problem because the Gilmore family treats them well and they have a relationship. But if you're gonna build your castle on top of other people's pain, I think it's good if we choose not to spend money on that.
Absolutely.
You know, and I
100%.
get it. Those people in that industry, they're just trying to make money too. So like, they don't all necessarily, they're not bad people necessarily, but
Right. No. Yeah, not at all.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways,
And that's those are beautiful points that you're making. And yeah, like you said, there's always a but, there's always a however in every situation, like you're saying, like, yeah, those some of these kids in the third world, they're in a factory, but it's better than, I don't know, being a child soldier or being a prostitute or, whatever. Like you said, it's a very complex spider web. And you illustrated that beautifully, is what I'm trying to say. And that's actually really interesting. I didn't realize that you were from the Philippines, that your family's from the Philippines, and that you had been to all over the world like that. That's awesome.
I was born here. My dad's a white guy from Tennessee, but
Oh, okay.
my mom is full Filipino, and
Cool.
he was a missionary in the Philippines before they met. And then
Cool.
my family's always valued world travel just in for just pleasure, but also like for missions stuff with our church, so I've been those places in Mexico and all these other third world countries and kind of had an opportunity to get my worldview shaped by how other people live. And
Good.
so again, I don't put that on anyone else. I don't want anyone to feel bad. I am
Yeah.
who I am. I've seen what I've seen and I can't live differently now that I've seen what I've seen.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a wonderful gift that you've had to be able to travel and to see how other people live. And that's gonna shape, yeah, like you said, your whole world view. Yeah, especially like some of these places. Like I haven't been to Asia or Africa. I've been to Europe, I've been to South America, and so I have, a lot of the Caribbean islands and things like that. That's where most of my travel has been. But yeah, I think going to experience different cultures and see different things. It has mental benefits that last you your whole life. Giving you that appreciation, traveling, even if it's not going to be like your profession, something through which you derive an income. I think traveling nonetheless, no matter what you do, is one of the best things you could do with your life. And if you have good boots to travel in,
Yeah.
it makes, if you could travel in your boots, it makes boots even more special. So there you go. It ties it all full circle. I feel like I learn something new about you every time we talk, Dave. I mean,
Oh, likewise.
yeah.
Likewise.
And that's what I love about our conversations is I feel like we can always take what's on the surface level and dive deeper into the deeper ethereal spiritual levels that make all this stuff special, all this surface level stuff special for us, because we do have one life to live, and we want to live that life as best as we can, and we're trying to live the best quality life, the most loving life, and we're figuring out ways along the way to do that in the best manner. So I think you get it. That's what I love about our conversations. Is it only sort of solidifies, I think in my mind and in the mind of anybody listening, like, no, there's more to this stuff than just superficial materialism, because it is not that.
We could go through some more stuff on green boots,
Yeah, for sure.
like some of the great makeups out there that we see, or
Good idea.
how to style green boots, stuff like that.
That is a great point. Yeah, we didn't touch on how to style green boots. How do you like to style the green boots?
It's interesting because everyone has a little bit of a different style, right? So some people are
Mhm.
going to be more edgy, other people are going to be more conservative.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, I don't know if you probably heard this on the Brett VIBERG interview. He talks about how, ironically, even though he's putting out like a lot of these crazy boot makeups, he's pretty
Yeah.
simple. He's like blue jeans, boots or derby shoes, like a solid color t-shirt and a ball cap every day.
Right, right.
I'm a lot more like that now. I had this transition like 10 years ago or so. I used to be very into fashion. I like to have all these different kinds of things I wore and colors and blah blah blah. But now I'm more like Brett in that way. And like, if you're more like me, I think it's pretty easy to style green boots. Basically have your wardrobe and it's not that complex, and you just kind of throwing those boots in as like the one small little bit of flair that you do have.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty like understated. And then if you got a little bit more edgy, loud fashion style, or just a little bit more refined, I guess you could call it, I just like using it, as you said, like kind of the way you would with color 8, how it's
Yeah.
not brown, so it's not that base color brown, but you end up using it as that fundamental, as that foundational color, and you build off of it. I don't think I could be more specific than that, just because it's probably a varied audience, but that's kind of how I conceptualize it. I try not to, again, I don't like to be too monochromatic, so I like something to stick out. Like, so if I'm wearing this green shirt, or does it like greenish tan, I'll probably won't wear green boots,
Right.
I'll wear something else. Um,
Yeah, me too.
so
I'm the same
something
way.
always has pop, you know. So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, how do you style green? Because you're a little more accessorized than me. You're pretty interesting. You got a lot of cool stuff. You got like, yeah, belts and really cool. I love your shirts and your sweaters and
Oh,
all
thanks.
kinds of stuff. So yeah, what do you do with green boots typically? What do you wear?
Yeah, yeah, green in particular. So I believe when it comes to the green boots, not to match any other part of the outfit, but to complement. So it's not a matter of matching, it's a matter of complementing. When it comes to boots, I actually have some of my green belts here. I will match my green boots to the belt. That's the one accessory that I will match to my boots is a belt. Here I have a J. Crew canvas belt
Nice.
in green, and then I have this Pigeon Tree Crafting quick release belt in green Sedgwick,
Yes,
which
it's
is,
one of my favorites.
yeah, one of my favorites too. Yeah, I love this thing. It pretty much identically matches the green in these color 85 Trumans now. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty dang close. So yeah. But if I were to wear this with an outfit, I'd throw this on with blue denim, or a brown pant or something of that nature. But yeah, I wouldn't wear, when it comes to green boots, I'm with you. Like, I'm not going to wear a green shirt. I'm not going to wear a green pants or anything like that.
Yeah, otherwise it's like the middle of November and people are like, hey, happy St. Patrick's Day, buddy. You're like, yeah. Yeah, so not too
Exactly.
much green.
Exactly. Too much green. Just too much. Yeah. You don't want, in my opinion, you don't want to do that with anything. Like, yeah, I see a lot of guys, they wear their blue denim and then they'll wear a denim shirt with that. And then like, even they'll throw on sometimes blue boots with that. And that is cool. Like, that doesn't look wrong to me, but at the same time, it just, to me, it matches, but they don't always complement each other. I believe that your accessories and your boots and your, everything that you have on should complement, not necessarily match. And then, well, this belt here, this is an olive bridle from Wicket and Craig. This is from a new guy that just hit the scene, Angel a kid out in Arizona. He runs a shop called Nobleman's Exchange, and I've been posting his belts recently. This is one of 4 that I have from him now, and I love this belt. This is my first belt from him, and in my opinion, it goes very well with like the it's not a perfect match, but it complements it. It's like,
It does, yeah.
yeah.
And what is that I've seen this belt before on your channel, but like, okay, is that like striations in the leather on the belt, or is it like crease marks? It's like got this like break to it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually just the way that it has patinaed over time. When it came, it was smooth, but yeah,
That is awesome.
oh, thanks. Yeah, as it creases, it forms those little breaks all throughout. I think it looks really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's got the little X there for exchange,
Cool.
Nobleman's Exchange. Yeah, I love it. This is vegetable tan leather from the Wicket and Craig Tannery. They're pretty well known for their bridal leathers, and yeah, I think this matches really well, like this olive color with the olive laces on the Aldens. Yeah, if I were to grab these tankers, that I would totally reach for this belt. Yeah, when it comes to green, I treat it like a brown. I treat it like any other brown. I would. So yeah, so I'd feel comfortable wearing green boots with like blue, dark blue denim, light blue denim. Um, but yeah, ultimately, like, yeah, probably my standard outfit if I was gonna wear these Mark Alberts in Forest Kudu is I'd throw these on and then I'd throw on either this belt or this belt, and then blue denim, blue jeans, and then probably a gray t-shirt. And I'm kind of to the point like Brett now, to where it's like I wear the same thing every day. I have a uniform, and so if I'm not going to work, it's gonna be a t-shirt, denim, and boots. Period. Like every day I wear the same thing. It's just I have a lot of different pieces that I can create that same outfit out of. So I never get sick of that either. I never get sick of the boots and denim and the t-shirt look. Like, to me, it's just very classic. And I feel great every time I throw that ensemble on. That's not to say I don't have some suits that I don't like to wear, or some sweaters that I don't like to wear, but when the weather's normal, yeah, that's my go-to, like today, t-shirt, Shadow Selvage denim, and my color 8 VIBERGs. The same outfit that I put on every day. It's just
Yeah.
put together with different things.
I love your explanation. That was really like a lot more detail than what I feel like I can give. That was solid fashion advice right there.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So jumping off of that, let's talk about what are your 2 most favorite green leathers, even apart from like the boots that they're made of, but like, or that they make, like your 2 favorite green leathers and your 2 what you think are probably the least favorite green leathers, and maybe I'll do the same.
Oh wow, good question. Okay, so probably my favorite green leather that I've ever seen is the olive green shell cordovan that Flame Panda has been using in some of their boot makeups. Oh my god, that is just the most beautiful green leather, period, hands down. Probably my second favorite green is gonna be the moss waxy mohawk. I think it just has so much brilliant character, so much, so many, and it's shrunken, so it really shows off its character nicely. All the scars, all the abrasions, all the veins. I think this is a staple green. I love it. Let me see. Yeah, the other boot actually has a lot more character to it. You could see
Mm,
maybe coming through in the screen there. Yeah, but
yeah, that's phew,
yeah, so much
that
character happening.
and the Rambler, as you always say, those are killer leathers. Wow,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
looks
so
like looks like dinosaur skin, man.
I know it does. It's like it's crazy. I'd say the green, olive green shell, and then the waxy mohawk would probably be my favorites. I don't know that I have a least favorite. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to name one that is a least favorite because I love them all. If it's a certain level of quality, I feel like I love it. How about you? What would be your favorite?
Okay, so favorite green leathers. It's funny. I asked the question and I'm like, crap. What what's my favorite? No,
That's okay. That
so I've
means
had more time to think about it. I could probably definitively say, but off my head, I'm thinking my favorites. One would have to be. It's not a specific leather, but anything in the family of. So you got those Aldens right there, the tankers in that
yeah,
green suede, or like I've seen the Indies from Todd Snyder, and I think it's the same exact suede. So that almost like hunter green, Robin Hood green, if you want to call it that.
yeah,
Um, that anything like that. So VIBERG uses through Milo Shop, you can get this, and there's also an Oxford in it, but it's the mushroom chamois, right? That same kind of thing. There's a boondocker that's hunter green. Oh no, hunter green Taurus, Brooklyn Clothing Company, or like there's a 2055 last Viberg in that, and then there's like another green hunter green boondocker from Milo Shop. So that yeah, that hunter green and that mushroom green, like anything
yeah,
that's like that, a rough out suede nubuck kind of thing.
yeah,
Those I think are a very good look. They
yeah,
can dress up or down really well depending on the makeup.
yeah,
So that's probably a favorite for sure. And then probably that kudu. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I loved my spruce kudus, and I'll probably get some more. I'm waiting for Andrew at Parker's to come out with his new last. What's going on. And
Okay,
I told him that too. So I got those. I did the review, offloaded them, and
okay,
I'm waiting. I'm probably gonna get a customized pair when he comes out with the new last.
cool.
But I think I like that. You can't really dress it up super well, but
Yeah,
it is very nice, casual, just rugged boot, and it's interesting because it's super tight grain and it's kind of a
yeah,
little stretchy, but it's so thin, like you're saying. It's
yeah. It's airy. It's airy light, but yeah, I don't know if you could see, but check that out. I could. Well, I don't know if
yeah,
you can see it here.
almost like spongy in a good way.
Yeah,
And I like it when it's like as beat up as possible. I was almost gonna say it's that moss waxy commander you have because it's got that
mhm,
rambler leather. You and I have talked before. You made the point. It was your point about how that stuff is like better than the wax flesh because wax flesh is just so basic. Oh, Mohawk, not Commander. Commander's like wax flesh. I don't like Commander.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Rambler and the Mohawk. I was gonna say that, but I think it'd actually be the Kudu.
Okay.
Um, green kudu of some kind. My
I'm
least
with you.
favorite green would be wax flesh, olive wax flesh, which sounds terrible to say, but like yeah, for my lifestyle, I'm kind of over that. It's too
Yeah,
simple. I think if I was going to do that again, I'd definitely get what you have there, the moss
yeah. The
mohawk
moss.
or something.
Yeah, the moss is boss, as we've come to say.
Well, because like so the thing is, right? Like we do this and we buy these boots and we want to keep them for a long time.
Yeah,
So I want to be able to enjoy the process of patina for years to come. And
yeah,
I feel like anything that's kind of like a cheater leather, you get there too fast. And not that it won't gain a different patina, but it's just like It's too fast. So any scuff off leather, I don't really love.
Oh
Initially,
yeah.
it's cool, but it's like cheating, and then in a year you're done, and it's like now it's just kind of any other leather, right? You're like, okay, well, that was a disappointment. Now I got to hold on to these things. Well, you don't have to, but I
Yeah.
would hold on to them for years. And then
Right.
the wax flesh is the same. It's like I re-waxed my VIBERG 310s a few times, but ultimately, once you get that first layer off, then then it's kind of not the same boot anymore, and it's done. So, anyways, olive wax
Yeah.
flesh, I'm
It's
not a
never
huge
the
fan
same.
anymore. And then, interestingly enough, I don't know what it is, but on boots, anyways, the olive Chrome Excel,
Yeah.
I just hate it. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It's just to me, it's a dud.
Oh, okay.
And I don't hate Chrome Excel. I'm more
Yeah.
like Ticho, less like Jake in this regard. Like
Yeah.
I don't think all Chrome Excel is dull. I think some of it is, some colors, but I find my color 8 particularly, but even my brown Chrome Excel to be, maybe it's clicking, I don't know, batching or the way you take care of it or something, but I find it like it has this depth of color. It's like luscious, creamy, buttery, like,
Oh
but
yeah.
the olive, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't.
That's it. That's interesting. And what's interesting about that is I haven't seen too many examples of olive Chrome Excel, but maybe that's why. Maybe the reason why it's not so widely used is because it's kind of a dud, like you're saying.
That's a different story. That could rival the kudu and the green suede I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, Olive Chrome Pack looks pretty cool, but I've never seen it in real life, so I can't really say.
Right, right. Olive Chrome Pack is nice, but yeah, I'm with you. I've never been around Chrome Pack in person, so I don't know much about it. It looks similar to a Chrome Excel, but I don't know like hardly anything about it. I see a lot of my friends, they have Chrome Pack though, like Viber Chrome Pack, and it looks super nice. But yeah, I'm with you. Like Chrome Excel was my first leather love. I'll never forsake Chrome Excel. You know, the smell of it, the buttery, soft, that oily quality that it has about it. I don't care that it kind of isn't. I don't care that it doesn't patina as interestingly as like a veg tan or some of these other leathers. You know, some of these ramblers, for example, or like a calfskin. I still love Chrome Excel. It is a staple. It's an iconic leather. It's one that stood the test of time, and it's revered. It is really revered. It's really great. It's good in so many applications. I have a bag made out of it. I have probably 12 pairs of boots made out of it. I love Chrome Excel. It's one of those leathers that you don't have to put much thought into wearing it in any situation, whether a work situation, a dress situation, a beater situation. It can do it all. So even to somebody that doesn't want to put as much intellectual labor into deciding which leather to love and to wear and to cherish, for somebody that just wants a pair of boots that's going to be absolutely great, Chrome Excel. I mean, that's the answer. So yeah, man, I actually have a couple more examples of green leathers. This one might not show up too well on the camera, but this is from Ashland Leather.
Oh, is that like the black shell or whatever that ends up looking all green?
Yes,
That's
that is
awesome.
black shell cordovan.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I this is so amazing. I mean, it's got tans, it's got blacks, but mostly greens. It's got a little bit of like some hints of blue, but what I love about this is it shows you the different pigmentations and the different color combinations that they use to make black, because they're not using black, they're using a bunch of colors to create the black. And
Yeah.
so that's what the marbled shell can show off. This is also from Angel, from Angel at Nobleman's Apothecary. He sent me this.
Nice.
Yeah, it's called a leather feather, which is the same bridle leather as the belt. And the leather feather, it's an accessory that it's purely his idea, but and it would actually, if you bought one of his what does he call it, a trapa sueño hat straps, it's like a strap that you put on your hat, and then you
Hmm.
could like insert the leather feather as like an accessory
Yeah.
out of there, and it'll stick out. And
Yeah, it's
it's
super
just,
cool.
yeah, it's pretty neat. Like he's very creative. He comes up with some really cool stuff. And for my application, I've stuck it like in my change pocket. I don't know how it looks though, but like I've given thought of like, sticking it in a pocket or stick it in like somewhere, or like even out of my belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's different applications for it, but for now, I just kind of have it hanging out on my nightstand as sort of just a decoration. I just think it looks cool.
Yeah.
So
It's super cool. It'd be cool, like if you have like a fountain pen little setup on your desk, you know, you can sit
yeah.
on that, or like if you put a little chain through it or whatever, it'd be kind of cool, like hanging off a strap on a nice backpack or something.
Oh, you're right.
That'd be cool. Even like if you don't have a hat like this, you know. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
No, you're
Yeah.
right, because I have a bag that this would complement very well. So
Yeah.
thank you. I will do that. That's actually the perfect application. I'll either dangle it off the bag or like coming out of one of the flaps or something. But yeah, I definitely I want to use it, and it is decorative, but it's just a cool idea. As far as green leather goes, like yeah, I've really evolved into it. It's not, like I said, it's not something that you start loving. It's something you evolve into, I think. And for me, it's one of my favorite colors. Like when I'm like you, my favorite color is blue, right? So getting into boots, I wanted blue boots because I thought, oh, well, it's my favorite color, and I love my blue boots. But at the same time, it's like I don't reach for them as often because just something about having blue as your on your feet. They look beautiful, don't get me wrong, but to me there's something more natural about having a green boot on than a blue boot. Have you ever had any blue boots yourself?
Yeah. So you're starting to get the idea that I move on a lot of boots. So like I bought those same navy suede Ottawas you have, and
Oh, okay.
I ended up offloading them because again, I just don't own that much stuff, and I intended not to, just because my particular lifestyle, my financial situation, and so
Yeah.
they were killer. But kind of the same thing. It was like I love staring at these by themselves, but putting them on, I'm like, what am I gonna do with these?
Yeah.
Um, so I sold those, but
Okay.
definitely that Ottawa boot is a killer makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
Which I guess another question might be, in your mind, what are a couple of the best green boots out there for people? Maybe some sleepers that people aren't as aware of.
Good question. So, a lot of the really, really good stuff coming out right now is coming out of the Indonesian makers. I've seen Renev Goods. I've seen Flame Panda, which is Chinese, not Indonesian. Onderhood, which is Indonesian. Sagara. Some of them are running some really beautiful green leathers. I don't know where they're sourcing them from, but I just saw almost a sage suede, and it was one of the most beautiful pairs of green boots I've ever seen. It was plain toe, but the green on it was unlike any green that I own. It was like almost like a Christmas tree green. It was darker, and it just had, maybe just a little bit of blue hue to it. Plain toe, it was either a suede or a rough out. It had a real thick nap to it. And that was one of the most beautiful green boots I've ever seen. So yeah, the Indonesian makers for sure are coming out with some of the best looking stuff right now. I mean, they're knocking stuff out of the park. They seem to be inspired by a lot of the American heritage workwear, but at the same time, they're being very experimental and doing a lot of good things. And yeah, there's a reason why you see like Tico right now, or Ticho, and you see a lot of these other great Instagram accounts. They're picking up some of these Indonesian boots, and they're very impressive. I would say if you're looking for a really unique sort of green boot that hasn't been discovered yet, really made popular on Instagram yet, yeah, go look at some of those Indonesian and Flame Panda, those small makers out of Southeast Asia, because they're really doing some good stuff.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think their stuff looks amazing. Very eye catching. Like quite frequently as I'm scrolling Instagram, let's stop. Oh, what's that? And it's always one of them.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I haven't bought anything from them, and I probably won't, just because of my particular personality. I'm very I think I'm just like impatient or something, and I also like the customer service thing. So like the
yes,
whole like DM them and gotta wait forever and all that. That's not very appealing to me. I like the
right,
whole like, there it is. It's on the website. It's in stock. I'm gonna buy it. It's gonna show up on my doorstep in a few days. If I don't like it, I'm gonna send it back. They might even pay for free shipping. I don't have to pay
yeah,
customs. If I want another pair of shoelaces, I go buy them for $8 on their website. They send it to me right away. If there's a problem, I like that personally. I don't even like pre-orders. There's a few pre-orders I got stuck in, and then like I was just like, why did I do this? This is the dumbest thing ever. So that's just me. I'm impatient. But
Yeah.
the stuff they do is awesome. And I'd say for people who are patient, it's totally worth the wait.
Right, for sure.
For me, the sleepers would probably be, maybe these aren't sleepers. Probably everyone is going to be like, everyone knows that, David. They're not really my style particularly, but like I really like Grant Stone has these two right now. There's the Loden. They have it in the diesel boot and in the Edward, that Loden color. Loden is always a great color, whether you're talking like a Dean sweater or a shirt or like boots or something. That Loden color, that's really good. And then they also have I think it might be Kudu as well. It's Grant Stone. It's that cap toe boot. That one's pretty killer.
Agreed.
Yeah, and there's obviously I'm a huge fan of the Spruce Kudu by Parker's, but I've already made that very clear. So I'd probably say these Grant Stone ones are in my mind, the kind of semi sleeper in my mind.
Right. You're 100% correct. I actually kicked myself for not hopping on those Grant Stone Kudus cap toes. Those were so beautiful.
I think it's called Forest Kudu. Now that I think about it, Forest Kudu.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, the reason why I didn't get them is just because it was like literally the boot in between these two. So like it had a cap toe, which this has, and it was made out of kudu, which this is. So it was like it's like I basically already had that boot in these two. If you were to combine these two boots, that's that same boot that they ran. So if I didn't have any green boots already, I would have gotten those and I would have loved the hell out of them. So I'm with you. I have to just live vicariously through other people's pictures now. The Loden suede, that's a very attractive color. That's one that I was able to sort of bypass, but I think those sold out really quick. I always have I always have Truman and Grant Stone's page up in my browser. So I could get there pretty quick. And that Loden suede, I would have characterized that more as a brown, but now that you mention it, it's like a very dark, it's a very earthy, greenish, brownish color.
Yeah, it's like those Kalamata olives, kind of almost.
Yeah, it is.
Like a greenish brown, brownish green.
Yeah. It's like right in between brown and green, and even some gray I see in there. Very nice. I had people actually reaching out to me about that pair in particular. And what's funny is sometimes the stuff that I don't realize I'm gonna love, I actually overlook very quickly sometimes. But I know that if I had to pick one boot, that could be an everything boot. That Loden suede, that could be one that could be literally worn in every single situation you could possibly come up with.
Yeah.
Those look proper anywhere. So
that's actually worth like a whole session, is talking about some of these colors that intersect different colors on the color wheel. So like that Loden one would be one. It's like, is it brown or is it green? So it's very versatile. I think everybody knows color 8 is one of those, because color 8, especially if it's Chrome XL, which is not going to be a popular opinion, but I actually like color 8 Chrome XL better than color 8 Shell or any of the other tannages in that same color.
Yeah.
But like it's the intersection of obviously red, burgundy, purple, right? But it's also the intersection of brown and black. And it's all mixed in there together. And depending on the light, it's like it looks kind of like black cherry. Sometimes it's straight up red. Sometimes it looks straight up brown. Like you would swear there's no red in it at all. Sometimes it's eggplant, and it's all dependent on the light and what the patina looks like, where the pull up is. So I think this Loden is kind of like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right. You described it, the color 8 Chrome XL, beautifully. And I will say that I agree with you actually that people love color 8 shell, but like my God, the color 8 Chrome XL is so much more vibrant, and I think it displays a lot more color variation than the shell does. The shell is like, it's like and it's got a depth to it. It's almost like you could see into the shell. But for me, it's still just kind of dark. Whereas the Color 8 Chrome Excel, it's, yeah, like you said, eggplant, purple, red. It's got all that. It's not too dark. It's just the right level of vibrancy to show off the brilliance of the Chrome Excel. And I think probably Color 8 Chrome Excel, it's not used widely enough. I think VIBERG really nailed it with their service boot. Again, I'm wearing them now. I wish I could get my leg up high enough, but my pants are they're too form fitting for me to be able to do that. This has been a grail pair for me. In fact, the reason I don't wear them enough, as much as I would, is because they're too easy to wear. I feel like I'm cheating. You know what I mean? I like to, when it comes to style, I like to carry a level of unpredictability to my style. I like to kind of be spontaneous and have surprises. And that pair of Color 8 VIBERGs, you could wear them with a suit. The only thing I wouldn't wear them with are burgundy pants. That's it. That's the only thing I wouldn't wear them with. Any other outfit that I could possibly concoct in my head, I would wear those things with. And so I feel like they're so attractive, visually stunning, and they're too versatile. I just feel like I'm cheating, too effortlessly good. And it's like, no, I want to put some more effort into my appearance than that. So that's why they don't get enough wear. They're a cheater pair. I know if I'm going to wear them, I know I'm going to turn heads. You know, I don't want anything in life to come that easy. It's not fair.
No, I will say, yeah, what you said about your own style, like that definitely is apparent. Like, I love watching your feet, like a lot of your Rambler leathers and stuff.
Yeah.
So interesting. Like the Stone Ramblers, it literally looks like you have rocks, like stones on your feet. That's like the petrified boots. And then you get the Squirrel Rambler, and it's just vibrant blue. That's so cool. The Coach Rambler, which I don't even know what Coach means. Like, what is Coach? Or Squirrel Blue for that matter? You know, it's like,
yeah, it's what the tannery calls it. I don't know where the hell they got the term squirrel to describe that bright sky baby blue. But the Coach, in my opinion, I think maybe Coach comes from maybe the Coach handbags, you know, that tan color that the Coach brand uses.
Yeah.
It seems sort of like tannish orange that Coach is sort of famous for. Maybe that's my theory, that maybe that's where they got the idea for Coach. But I don't know. But thank you. Yes, I'm glad you noticed that, because as my taste evolves, I like it to go down more the interesting path, less the predictable path. So that's why I gravitate more into stuff like this. That's so cool to look at. You know, gnarly.
So here's another green boot question. So not what is your most favorite green boot, but out of all the green boots you've ever seen, which green boot did you find the most fascinating?
Oh,
like even if you wouldn't even wear it yourself, like what's the most fascinating green boot you've ever seen?
Oh, good question. Most fascinating green boot.
Are they like knee-high, lace-up, stiletto? No, I'm kidding.
This is going to get controversial real quick, but I think that the alligator print green boots I would never wear. Frankly, I find that the scaly appearance I find a little off-putting, but I'd have to say that those are the most fascinating. Fascinating because it's like, wow, like it takes some guts to wear those, but also it takes, I think, a different type of appreciation to appreciate that. Because for me, I don't know, there's just something about reptile skin, snake skin boots, crocodile boots. I've never liked it. Just subjectively, I've never found it appealing, not to the look or to the touch. But I know that some people do like it. A lot of guys that are into cowboy boots, they love the snake skin. They think that it's definitely very manly. It's definitely very something very Crocodile Dundee, if you want to think of it like that. It's not for me, but I would say that, yeah, that's one of the most intriguing pairs of boots, are the like the green crocodile skin cowboy boots, I would say. That's the most interesting pair of boots that I would not wear. The most interesting pair of boots that I would wear that are green would probably be the Viberg marbled black shell cordovan service boots. Those are beautiful. They're so interesting, and yes, I would wear those. And if they brought them back, I might get them if I had the money. This is marbled black shell as well. I think there's something just endlessly fascinating about marbled shell. And again, I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but I could take some 4K shots of this later. But but yeah, marbled shell to me is like the ultimate in interesting, because it tells you so much about how shell is dyed, the different pigments involved, because you could see them. They're not uniform, and you get to see the inconsistencies. And to me, that's one of the most fascinating parts. So yeah. So how about you? What's the most fascinating green boot you've ever seen?
Okay, so this is gonna be super underwhelming
Yeah.
after you said alligator. I would say that I wouldn't wear it, but I don't know that I could wear it. Maybe I'm just not confident enough. I don't know. Is actually those color 85s you have?
Yeah.
They're just so unique. Like the boot itself is not, you know, it's just like a cap toe service boot, like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. But
Right.
that specific color, I've just never seen anything quite like that. Like in, yeah, and I know there's all the like really nice 4K shots on your reviews on it on YouTube, but like
Yeah.
it's also cool because it's this intersection of loud but subtle,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's not like there's a lot of the greens we've talked about are mostly subtle.
Yeah.
They're very muted,
Right.
very humble green. And then there's stuff out there like in athletic wear that's like very loud and in your face. This is like the meeting of the two. So anyways, I just always found that was like such a fascinating color. And it was like, why do we not see more color 85 stuff in general? Like not just boots, but even other things. Like there's not a lot of color 85 out there. So
Yeah, I agree. And what I love about this is it's like a vibrant emerald green. It's like almost a royal green. If you know, like royal blue. This is almost like a royal green, if there is such a thing. Yeah, it's opulent, but it's not too loud. It's gorgeous. It could be louder, but it's not. I agree with you. I think the last that it was built on, and the service boot silhouette that it has, mutes what could be otherwise a very loud leather, a screamingly loud leather. But yeah, I think with the gold eyelets or the polished brass eyelets combined with it, it makes it look like something a king would wear. Like when I look at these, I just imagine like a king wearing. It's like somebody sitting at his throne. Well, maybe it would be a higher boot for a king, maybe like up to here, like a logger. But yeah, I'm with you. I think this is definitely one of the more interesting colors of leather. And yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see color 85 plain toes and color 85 wallets and color 85 monkey boots and all that stuff. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why it's not used more, but green, I guess, just isn't the like we talked about before, it's the browns, it's the blacks that seem to be the staple colors. And so when it comes to greens, it's just not the most widely selected among makers, I guess. Hopefully this real boot talk, however, if any makers out there are listening, maybe this will inspire some people to do some more makeups in it. Maybe we could do a collab, have
yeah, that'd be
Dale and
awesome.
Dave's green boot collab. If anybody's interested, let us know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, ultimately, I think green boots are so interesting, and I don't think they get enough airtime, enough attention, enough discussion. So I'm glad we were able to get together and talk green leather, because for me, it's really something that I've come to love. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still like, I messaged Flame Panda a couple months ago about doing some olive green shell, And I'm with you. It's like the only thing really holding me back is just the fact that the ordering process through DMs, it's just, I feel better. Call me traditional, call me an old man or whatever, but I just feel better clicking, submit payment, submit order on a website and talking to somebody and sending money through, I don't know how they even want their money sent, like through PayPal or something. Just to me, it just doesn't feel as official. It doesn't feel as secure. And, I haven't heard of, obviously nobody's been dissatisfied with any of these services. The wait process, the patience, because I can tell you, like, if you're impatient, like, I can tell you doing some of these custom leather jackets, especially during COVID, I waited for my natural chrome excel horsehide leather jacket from Thurston Brothers. I waited almost a year for that thing. I mean, 8-9 months. I mean, that's an insane wait. The more recent one that just came in Russet Badalassi, I want to say that came in about 5 months, so a lot quicker. But still, I mean, if you're impatient, I mean, that's a long wait right there, man. You got to be committed. You do. I think now I'm to the point in my collection where I'm ready to maybe submit a Flame Panda order. I've been toying with the idea recently, or a Renav Goods Co. or a something to that effect, or an Underhood. I might end up doing that here shortly, one of these days, within the coming months. I think I'm to the point now in my boot collecting career. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time, but I'm with you. It's like, it's a new way of ordering. I tend to stick to 4 brands: Alden, VIBERG, Truman, Grant Stone. And more recently, more often than not, I've been very comfortable sticking to Truman and Grant Stone because the price is right and the fit is right. I'm familiar enough with the brand, comfortable enough with the brand to be a repeat customer. Yeah, branching out of trying a new brand, it's always been one of my weak points. I've never felt confident going for some of these new brands. So like for Mark Albert and Parkhurst, for example, they were around for a couple of years before I tried any of theirs, just because I wasn't sure about the sizing. I wasn't sure about just what to expect in general. After having tried both, I can say that, yes, I absolutely love both of those brands now that I've given them a shot. For me, branching out, it's like stepping out of my comfort zone to try a new brand. So that's partly why I haven't done it yet, but I probably should, because that's where all the hype is headed, and I hear nothing but good things about the Indonesian makers and Flame Panda. So yeah, so we'll see,
Yeah, I mean, I might get there too at some point, but probably only when it comes to like a Grail makeup that I want made or whatever, right? Instead of waiting for like VIBERG to make it, and who knows if they will. It makes sense to go to a custom person,
right,
and all that. But if it's just I mean, as nice as they are, and only because I'm not the guy that's like super concerned with like impeccable stitching and stuff like that. Like a lot of them they're not enough for me to go over the edge for it. So it's like, even with the price, so it's a nice pair of derby shoes or a boot or whatever, like they're pretty nice, but the makeup itself isn't anything that like I've never seen before anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's also the offloading of it. Like we all know what a bummer it is to try a last and realize like you don't love it, right? So it's
true.
like, if I have 2030s or Red Wing Iron Rangers or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
If I try the last and it doesn't work, I know I can sell it on eBay. I know I can maybe even return it depending on where. I know I could trade it or give it to someone. It's a known value, right? It's a known quantity. Whenever you go to a new brand, you're starting from square one. Like it doesn't matter if they get your measurements and they say they're good at fitting you and stuff. You're still starting from square one, and you're still wasting money in the long run. Like spending $300 a piece on 2 pairs of Indonesian footwear and then finding out they're like, yeah, they were cheaper, but like I don't wear them as much because they don't fit quite right in the ball, or I thought the heel counter would be thicker and I like big heel counters or whatever. In the long run, that's not as good a scenario as like one pair of boots that you already know you love the last and the fit and blah blah blah. So that's just me. So I might get there eventually, but it it will only be to do like something grail, like, okay, Flame Panda or whoever, I'm going to build my dream boot now. And every little aspect is going to be exactly the way I dreamed of. But as
Yeah.
far as all their stock stuff that's like $300 or whatever, yeah, it hasn't pushed me over the edge yet. But I see great stuff. Everything I see people wearing from those people, I think it's just stellar. It's
Oh yeah.
amazing. I'm happy with the guys we have already. You know, I'm like, there's enough different makeups from, you know, all these ones we're talking about: Alden, Grant Stone, VIBERG,
Yeah.
uh, Truman, Parkhurst, all these people, to where I feel like I have enough variety stateside to not have to go to the ends of the earth. But I mean, for
Yeah.
people who are doing that, I think it's a good deal. It's a really good deal. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You're so right. Even the makers themselves don't always know how to recommend how to size it, because sizing is so it's an issue. You know, it's a real tough thing. That's why I try to make some of these sizing videos to like show different brands how to size in different brands, because it's like it comes down to a lot of factors: the last, the brand, you know, brand sizing and all this, which is never something I've loved, because whenever I go into a store and the salesman sizes me, it always is too small. Like, oh no, you need this size. And it's like, okay, like my first pair of Aldens on the Grant last, I wanted a size 9, and the lady's like, no, you need 8.5. I tried on the 8.5 and it was just crushing my foot. She's like, oh well, we have an 8.5 E. So I tried on, I got the 8.5 E's. Yeah, they felt better, but still, like, they never felt right. I wanted the 9s. I think fit is subjective. We know how we like things to fit. Each of our feet are different, so it's really a subjective thing. And if there's one thing I hate on this planet Earth, is putting on a shoe that squeezes my foot and cuts off my blood circulation. A lot of people, they don't care about that. A lot of people are fine with that. I cannot stand feeling the urge to kick off my shoes. That, to me, that is the worst feeling in the world. If my feet can't breathe, I don't feel like I can breathe. And especially like when I was in the military, and as a younger guy wearing footwear that was too tight, too small, just, I remember always wanting to kick them off. I don't think that you should feel that way in your shoes. I feel like you should feel like you want to not kick them off. I feel like you should want to keep them on. So that's where I found that, you know, some of the best sizes for me, some are the generous fitting shoes that you know, they fit great, but at the same time they're not crushing your foot in any way. That's where I find a lot of these shoe vendors, they measure your foot and they're like, oh yeah, take this size. And it's like, maybe to them that's how they like to size, but to me that's never been the way I like to size. I like to feel like my blood can pass through my foot
Right.
unimpeded.
I think part of the issue with both a lot of the people selling this footwear and us, the consumer,
Yeah.
is we have the wrong starting point. And our starting point is, I see this boot or shoe and I want that to fit on my foot.
Yeah.
And it should be the other way around. It should be, my foot is this shape.
Mm-hmm.
Not every shoe or boot is going to fit me well. And so I need to find something that does fit well. And
Right.
ultimately what we do is we do all these fit gymnastics of like, I'm going to try a 9 and a 9D and a 9E and an 8.5D and an 8.5E and 8 double E, or, you know, to get it to fit right. And sometimes what the salesman should say and what we should tell ourselves is like, this particular last is not good for my foot. There's so many factors here, right?
Yeah.
This is why I have a really love-hate relationship with the Brannick, or even people recommending the Brannick. Like, I know it's a universal device, but
Yeah.
we're not talking about something that takes place on two planes here.
Right.
It's not just X and Y, you know?
Right.
It's not length and width. It's length, width, volume, but the volume varies, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
there isn't like a standardized volume in step or ball or whatever. It's like one person has a huge volume in their ball but not their instep, or the other way around, or high arches or low arches, or a big heel or a big ball, or long toes or short toes or tall toes, or all their toes are fine but their second toe is longer than their big toe. It's called a Roman toe, I think. You know, there's
Yeah.
just all these like, some people's feet like hook, and some people like straight. Like, my feet are pancake feet, so everybody
Okay.
sizes me wrong.
Yeah.
at one point or another. Even Division Road, who I think is pretty good, they've sized me correctly with some stuff and other stuff. And it's not their fault. Like they can't see my foot, but like I have these feet that are like wide and flat like a pancake.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
all the salesmen, they're always like, "Oh, this is your size because this is your Brannick." I'm like, "No, I'm swimming in it." And then I size down and it's too short. And it's like, "Oh, wear a thick sock." I'm like, some of these times like it's technically the right size, but because I have low volume, it's like I have to like put an insert and wear thick socks and pull the laces all the way tight just to get it to feel kind of snug. Like
Right.
this isn't working. Um,
Makes sense. Yeah.
and ultimately what I need to say is like, hey, this is not a good last for my foot. I'm not going to wear it. And that's my worry with some of these foreign makers. Like what they're doing is great,
Hmm.
but even though $300 isn't $600, like $300 is still $300, and you kind of waste it or lose it if you get this thing and you thought it was a good deal and it was made to your measurements and everything, but the last just isn't the right shape for your foot because measurements don't tell you the shape, right? Even like
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest boot makers like White's, Westco, and Nick's, like they can measure all these measurements, but that's not telling them the shape. Even a tracing is not ultimately telling them the shape. They don't know what your they tells you the circumference of your instep, the measurement, but it's not telling you the shape of it. Um,
True. Yeah.
anyways, like I've had all three of those companies tell me I had a different size.
Hmm.
Nick's, White's, and Westco, they're all like, "Oh, you're this size, no, you're this," and then Baker's had a fourth size. It's not because you're bad at this; it's because feet are just all different, and it's not like your foot's static. Your foot is ergonomic, so it's like bending and flexing and expanding and swelling and contracting and like going up and down. Your heels moving around and all this. So it's just like
Yeah.
footwear is a lot more difficult. So yeah, it is pretty frustrating to me as well when people selling really expensive footwear kind of just approach it really simplistically, like, "Oh, what's your Brannick?" Like, are
Right.
you kidding me? I'm about to drop like several $100s, and you all you're gonna ask me is what my Brannick is. Like, that's a good starting point,
Yeah.
but especially if I'm in person at a shoe store, like if you're not like actually looking at the shape of my foot, you're doing your job wrong.
Right. Right.
You
That's
know,
true.
gotta, if you're really trying to help the person, I think.
I agree. And that's where I run into issues myself is my instep is like freakish. It's like like my feet are not flat. They're like I have a big arch and a big instep. And when something crushes my instep, it is the most painful thing in the world. And that to me I feel like could really injure me long term. And so that's why I like a nice generous feeling on the instep right here, and if it's not generous, then if my instep is crushed right here, then I'm never going to wear that boot, and yeah, like so much of what you're saying is so true. Like the foot is an ergonomic thing, and it adapts. It adapts over time. Some people's foot size increase with age, with weight gain. I heard more with width than with length. But and just yesterday, listening to the Stitch Down Shoecast, they were talking about how the length of the boot is actually the least important thing, because many lengths can work. It doesn't matter if, in some cases, and 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 I know, I think about like I grew up, well, ever since a teenager, I was snowboarding and skiing, and I can tell you that sometimes some of these snowboard shoot or some of these snowboard boots are really big, but they need to fit into the snowboard. That's why. So it's not so much the outside of the boot that matters; it's how your foot fits on the inside of it that really matters. And so yeah, like Tico and Ben, they were both saying that yeah, like the length of the boot is the least important thing. It's actually how your foot sits inside of it. So yeah, that resonated with me a lot too, because my boots do extend beyond my where my toe ends. But if I were to size down to say where, like, I know people that they want their toe to like touch the tip of the boot, and I'm like, what? If I do that, I'm sorry, like that is never going to be comfortable for me.
Right. Yeah. Everyone's different, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like if my toes came to the edge, like my instep is going to be crushed and I'm going to feel throbbing in my foot all day. And I'm not going to be able to wait to take them off. So I'm going to kick those things off and I'm never going to put them on again. I think I'm so conscious about that because when I was in the military, and I was also in the Young Marines as a teenager, I wore really uncomfortable combat boots and they were too small and they were so uncomfortable and you had to march in them all day. You had to stand in attention in them all day. And they were hell. They were, I'm telling you, they were hell. That's why I'm so opinionated about how I like my foot to feel inside the boot. It's really a subjective thing.
I think you see it the most with pull-on boots, because you don't have the laces, right? You don't have the laces to, and you can tell a good salesman because a good salesman can get you into the right pull-on boot. Some people, the way their foot is shaped, many pull-on boots will work. People have low volume feet that don't have much of an instep, like myself. They often size us wrong.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the laces to hold our low volume feet in, right? What holds your foot in ultimately with a pull-on boot is the instep and the ball anchor. So if you don't have that, then what they always do classically, I've been sized wrong so many times. So now I just size myself.
Right.
And I'll tell them, oh, this last doesn't work for me. Oh no, I think you can get it to fit. I'm like, yeah, I don't want you to, because it's not right. Because what they do is my correct size will be like a 9 or something.
Okay, right.
And they go, well, we can size you down and then it'll fit. Then it'll stay. In other words, they're just trying to get it to stay on my foot. And it's like, in some cases that works. In other cases, it's like, no, you're doing that thing again where this last just doesn't work for my foot and you're trying to get it to work. So I size down and it like stays on my foot a little bit better, but something else gets sacrificed. It's like now the arch is in the wrong spot and it's jabbing like my heel, or like now it's too narrow. Or I think if we were buying like $20 shoes, then like whatever, it doesn't need to be perfect.
Fine.
But if you're buying these boots that cost hundreds of dollars and you want to wear these for like 20 years, yeah, we have to be able to say to ourselves, and then salesmen have to be able to say to us, hey, I don't think you have a great foot for this. Like, now, if you decide to go through with it anyways, that's okay. That's on you. That's a decision you can make. But it's like, hey, the 2030 is built on an E width and you're a C width. No matter what we do, you're never going to get a good fit, know? Yeah. So I suggest you go elsewhere now. If they decide to go through with it anyways, then that's fine. But instead, I feel like a lot of people do. They just let you buy it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Yeah, ultimately they're salespeople, and it is up to you. Like I've hung out with Sonny in his shop, and what's cool about him is he never pushes to sell his services to people. They'll bring him a shoe that has this issue, and they say, "Huh, do you think it's worth $20 to do this to it?" He's like, "It's up to you." Like you know you're the customer. That's up to you. Like, and I love that about him. Whereas there's some salesmen that are like, no, I just want to make a sale. So, and you've seen it, you've been to some of these stores where it's like, the salesmen, they attack you when you walk in the store. Hi, hey, they have their pitch that's obviously been rehearsed a billion times that they use on everybody. It's like, no matter what, they want you to buy as much stuff as humanly possible before you walk out. That's obviously not an experience that you'd get at like an Alden store. Obviously, like they're not pushy, but you know what I mean. Like there's some salesmen, predatory salesmen, that just want to sell you something. It doesn't matter if it works or not. They just want your money. That's overgeneralizing, but yeah, I think when it comes to fit, I think it's so subjective. And one of the things when I was getting into boots, I talk about this sometimes. The boot guy on YouTube, he said, don't ever let anybody tell you how to size in your boots. And I always thought, yes, because that's where I've gotten into trouble. I'd be at my desk all day kicking these things off. Like, these things hurt. And the salesman had me convinced at the time that was the right size for me. No, it was not. If you're kicking your shoes off, it's not the right size. Yeah, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for coming on to the channel today, Dave. We got to
Yeah.
do this again soon.
Yeah, dude, I always love talking, whether we're recording it or just talking on the phone or Instagram or whatever.
Yeah,
I always love it. It's super good. So yeah.
likewise. It's always epic. So yeah, man, we'll wrap it up, and until next time, brother.
Yeah. Till next time, keep wearing those green boots and I'll go find some to replace the ones that I sold.
Yes, exactly. Go get yourself another pair. All right, brother. Well, this is good. You take care, and I'll talk to you next time.